Before I start this video, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please click the like button, share this out through social media, and leave comments in the comments section. Today, I'm going to be reviewing episode 6, or if you're neurotic, episode 7 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, or is it the Nine Kingdoms? The episode is entitled simply The Morrow. The episode starts off with Lionel Baratheon and his maester looking down on Sir Duncan, who is laying underneath a tree, and you've got some lounge jazz playing in the background. The music for this episode just completely boggled the mind. In my opinion, it totally did not make sense at all. It actually took me out of the immersion into the episode whenever they played this. It was really bothersome. And the next thing that happens is Lionel lays down to Sir Duncan, basically tells him his plans. He's going back to Storm's End. He would like Sir Duncan to come with him. They could like hunt and hawk and do all this other stuff. When we get the tragic news from Sir Lionel's maester that Sir Duncan is dying and the maester can't cure him, to which Sir Lionel replies, "You couldn't cure an itchy arsehole," and basically tells his maester to fuck off, and then he tells Sir Duncan to ignore him and that his maester is basically useless. He also tells Sir Duncan that if he comes with him, he'll love him like a brother, but if he doesn't, he'll hate him like a brother. Either way, I guess they are going to be brothers. And basically, Sir Lionel says that the only good dragon is a dead dragon. Duncan gets upset about that because Baelor basically died for him, and Lionel retorts that no, Beesbury, Harding, Risling, and he calls Sir Raymond the Apple Knight or something, but they all fought for him. They all had things to lose, and basically Prince Baelor did not. And he said the gods don't like a fraud. And Sir Duncan basically replies, then why am I still alive? Which kind of, again, is another implication that Sir Duncan may not be a knight. And basically Sir Lionel tells him that this isn't like living, this is a mockery. It isn't a punishment, it's a mockery. And basically he also tells Sir Duncan that if you're coming along, or at least consider coming along, and that the caravan leaves after the roast. I thought that was kind of a weird phrasing, but we'll find out in a second why he said that. Also, it was nice to see that Sir Lionel was also messed up from the trial. He's walking around on a crutch. His face was visibly messed up. Obviously, this was a serious fight that we missed for the most part. And again, I already lamented that in the last video, so I'm not going to go over that again. The next scene is the roast Sir Lionel was referring to, which is the pyre for Prince Baelor. Most of the Targaryens that are there, but you do not see Aerion, and also you only see 2 out of the 3 Kingsguards. I couldn't really tell which Kingsguard was missing. After the Septim says a few words about Prince Baelor, they basically pack up camp. Some I think some other priests are there to collect the ashes, and Sir Duncan comes up and talks to um, Valar, Prince Baelor's son, and they both basically agree that Prince Baelor could have been great. And Valar basically asks him, then why did the gods take him and spare you? And Sir Duncan doesn't really have a response to that. Also, Valar reveals that Prince Baelor was wearing his armor, which explains why the mace did the damage it did. The helm was too small for Prince Baelor. There also was no padding in there, so there was nothing to really absorb the hit. So the metal went right into his skull, and that's why he died. I was kind of wondering that last episode. I may have even said it in my review. Why? I think I made a comment about Steely Pate's helmet being much better, but it wasn't. It was simply that Prince Baelor's helmet didn't fit right, and it ended tragically because of that. After that, Sir Duncan walks around the camp. Some people are giving him side eyes. Everybody seems to be packing up. The tournament's basically over at this point. And he comes across Sir Raymond's tent, who's been exiled by his cousin. What is it? Sir Stephen, for going against the family. I believe Duncan kind of apologizes for it, but Sir Raymond seems to be happy about it. He says, on top of it, I won. I actually beat my brother in the Trial of Seven, the first one in 100 years. And he also thinks that he broke one of his cousin's ribs, so he's not so sad about all this. We also get to see that he has a green apple for his sigil on his shield. And he also says, I'd rather be a unripe green apple than a wormy red one. At that point, the redhead prostitute we've been seeing throughout the season comes out of Sir Raymond's tent. There's some greetings. We find out that Sir Raymond has married her, and her name is Lady Rowan now. And that they are pregnant, and she is showing. She's showing? They're pregnant, and they know already? Yeah, that math does not add up. And Sir Duncan, I think, is aware of it. He kind of is perplexed by this announcement, and he is saved from possibly having to explain something to Sir Raymond by Prince Maekar's guards, who informs Sir Duncan that Prince Maekar requests his permission. So Sir Duncan leaves it with congratulations, and he's off to see Prince Maekar. And just like when we saw Sir Duncan come in front of Prince Baelor, when he comes in front of Prince Maekar is reading something. I don't think it's the same thing, but they're both reading. Prince Maekar tells Sir Duncan that he's sending Aerion away to the Free Cities. Hopefully a few years there will straighten out his attitude. So he realizes that Aerion is a piece of shit, basically. And they basically discuss how both of them will probably be blamed in the future for Prince Baelor's death, Prince Maker basically says that everybody's blaming me. Everybody thinks I want him murdered, but I didn't, and the gods know the truth. And after finding out about the helm, I honestly believe him. I didn't really doubt him before. I didn't think he was going to assassinate his own brother. I didn't think he was that kind of human being. But just the armor thing definitely confirms that Prince Maker definitely did not mean to kill Prince Baelor. Sir Duncan also wonders about, if I hadn't fought the trial, then I would have lost a hand and a foot. And before Prince Baelor died, he told him that the realm was going to need good men. So I may be needing my hand and foot, which is why I fought instead of going to a trial I would have lost. After that, we get to the reason for the summoning, and the reason is because Aegon is to become a squire, but Aegon will only squire for Sir Duncan. So Prince Maekar begrudgingly offers Sir Duncan a deal that they will live in Summerhall. He will take Sir Duncan as his squire, and Prince Maker's mastered arms will complete Sir Duncan's training at the same time. And Sir Duncan apologizes, but he says, I'm done with princes, and leaves. Aegon, who's been eavesdropping the whole time, is waiting outside Prince Maker's chamber. So Sir Duncan comes and sits next to Aegon, and Duncan's first words are, were you spying? Aegon denies that, and he also asks if Sir Duncan is hurting, and Sir Duncan basically cuts him off and says he can't do it. In other words, he can't take him as a squire. This has all been pretty bad for him, and Aegon has a mic drop in return by saying, perhaps you're not the knight I thought you were, and he gets up and leaves. Now we get a flashback to Sir Arlen telling Sir Duncan, or actually at this point, just Duncan, the story of the penny tree, which is basically when bannermen are called off to war, they nail a penny to an oak, and if they come back, they remove the penny. And after it seems like Sir Arlen's done with the tale, Duncan asks him why he never knighted him. And again, we're getting more and more clues or inferences that Sir Duncan is not a knight. It looks like Sir Arlen is actually dead, that he's died, but at the last moment, he comes back to life and says a true knight always finishes a story. But I believe that was near the end of Sir Arlen's life. So, like I said, the book, from what I understand, is a lot more ambiguous about Sir Duncan actually being a knight. But it seems that the television show is not going to be as ambiguous. They are basically going to imply that he was never knighted. And we go to the next scene, which is Raymond and Duncan at the wake for Harding and Beesby. And Rowan is now working there as a server, as opposed to being a different type of server in her past job description. And Duncan hears Darren Daron's voice, and he goes over and confronts him. Basically, asks if he has no. Uh, I think he says you have no respect for the dead or something like that. Basically implying you shouldn't be here because you're part of the reason why those two men are dead. Why Harding and Beesbury are dead. And Daron, is his ever aloof self, basically kind of shrugs, and then he asks Sir Duncan if he's going to take Aegon on as a squire, and he says that his little brother wasn't always a monster, to which Sir Duncan replies, Aegon isn't a monster, and Daron goes, I wasn't talking about Aegon, I was talking about Aerion. And he says something about maesters saying that monsters are born in the womb, but Aerion was actually a happy child, so he basically implied that he wasn't always awful. And actually, I kind of like Daron as a tragic character. Um, I know he's a bit aloof and he doesn't seem to care about anyone but himself for the most part. But he's had a lot of screwed up things happen to him. And I actually kind of hope they circle around. I know that these books are basically individual adventures and you may not see the same characters moving forward, but I kind of hope that the showrunners do circle back, especially the Targaryens. The next scene we get is Aegon sitting on his bed. He seems to have been sitting there a while because the fish he's given to eat is attracting flies, and there's a little knife stuck in it, and it looks like it's been sitting there for a while. Aegon gets up, looks in the mirror, sees that his blonde hair is growing back, and then they kind of flash back to the fish, and the knife is missing. And that's when Aegon enters Aerion's room, and Aerion appears a lot more screwed up than he looked at the end of the last episode. And it looks like he's been drugged for the pain. So he's just laying there on his bed completely out. And we see the knife in Aegon's hands. And he continues to approach the bed when he hears a creak. He looks over to see Prince Maker is waiting for him. Prince Maker gets up, puts his hands on Aegon's shoulders. Aegon is crying and he drops the knife. And that is some really powerful stuff. That small scene right there is extremely powerful. It expresses a lot of things without saying a single word. It was really well done. It's actually, in my opinion, one of the best scenes of the entire season. It's done very well. You get to feel their emotions, and they don't express a single word. The scene ends with one of the guards telling Prince Maekor that Sir Duncan is requesting an audience. We go and see Sir Duncan is waiting outside Prince Maekor's chamber, and Gwyn Ashford comes up and basically tells him she doesn't blame him for ruining her name day, and that she believes he was right in his response, which is rather touching, and it also kind of ruins my initial impression of her. I thought she was like this total spoiled, the typical noble spoiled brat, but obviously she's not. She's got some humanness to her, some warmth, and that's a lot more from their initial encounter where she basically called him a big idiot. So I actually like that little scene. Maker comes up, tells Sir Duncan to speak quick because he wants to be rid of this place. I can't really blame him for that, from everything that's happened. Sir Duncan tells him that he'll agree to take Aegon as his squire, but not at Summerhall. He's going to teach him the same way he was taught. They're going to live in inns. They're going to live on the road. They're going to eat salted beef, all this stuff. And Maekor totally refuses the proposal. He says his son's not going to live like a peasant. And Sir Duncan reminds him that living at Summerhall didn't do anything for his son Daeron, and eating meat, bloody and rare, didn't help Aerion either. The last thing Prince Maekor says as he leaves is that Aegon is his last son. And I think where he was going with that is that it's the only son that isn't screwed up at this point, and he's afraid to lose him. The last scene starts out with Sir Duncan putting his broken shield into a saddlebag on Chestnut, which is the chestnut-colored horse. When Sweetfoot, the white horse that he basically sold, comes trotting up, and Sir Raymond is not far behind. Sir Raymond bought the horse for him because he hears that Stormend is kind of a dreary place, and he thought having an old friend would help cheer things up. But Sir Duncan informs him he's not heading to Stormend, and that he's doing what he should have done in the beginning, which is head the other way as quickly as he could. Sir Raymond tells him that he's thinking about going into the cider business. And Sir Duncan gives him Sweetfoot because perhaps Sweetfoot will enjoy an orchard. And maybe Sweetfoot's a little bit older than the other two horses, and he's going to be doing a lot of traveling moving forward. So maybe it's time to get a nice retirement for Sweetfoot. While Sweetfoot and Raymond are getting acquainted, we see Sir Duncan working on a penny. He pounds it into an oak tree and leaves it there. And he is getting ready to walk away, and he's telling Chestnut he doesn't know where he's going. And he asks, where would the old man go? At that moment, we hear Aegon call to him and say that his Lord Father has said that he is to serve Sir Duncan, and Sir Duncan tells him to put a sir on the end of the sentence, and he tells him that Chestnut is his horse and to take good care of her. And he goes, I don't ever want to see you on Thunder unless I put you on her. And that's a callback to the first episode at the inn when he comes into the stable and Aegon is on top of Thunder pretending to be a knight. They start discussing where they're going to go, and Sir Duncan says we could go anywhere in the 7 kingdoms, and Aegon corrects him and says there's 9 kingdoms, and they get into a little bit of a discussion, and Aegon basically names the 9 kingdoms. And then he says, I've never been across the Red Mountains. And he hears that they have good puppet shows in Dorne, remembering that is where Tanzel was headed. So he's kind of making it look like it's about puppets, but I think it's about Aegon knowing that there was something between Sir Duncan and Tanzel, and now that he's he's won this big tournament. Maybe they should head to Dorne. Also, he saved her life, so maybe we can reunite there and she can properly thank him. They start riding off and they cut to behind the two of them, and then Sir Arlen riding on Sweetfoot, which of course is basically a hallucination by Sir Duncan. And Sir Arlen actually veers off to the left as they're riding away, and Sir Duncan kind of looks back at him. I think that's supposed to symbolize that it's no longer about Sir Arlen. His part of the tale is over, and Sir Duncan is now supposed to be writing his own tale. And again, the weirdness starts. We get 16 tons. I have no idea what that has to do with this episode. If somebody knows, please put it in the comments. I'm completely confused by it. And then we quickly get a cut scene of the Targaryens packing up camp. They're heading back to Summerhall. And Prince Maker seems to be looking for something as everyone's passing by. And then he asks one of the men if they have seen Aegon. And they say no, maybe he's with, I think he said with the Maesters. And then Prince Maker basically asks, where the fuck is Aegon? And here's the problem I had. And I had a bit of a discussion on Monday Night Throwdown with Ian about this. He thought it's just a young child being a young child with all this deception. And I completely disagreed with him. Aegon is a prince, whether he wants to be one or not. He knows lying is not good, that it's a bad thing. And he knows because of the season that consequences come with it. So I'm a little disturbed that they're kind of turning his character into a habitual liar. I don't really like that. I mean, you can do it once or twice, but he's told about 4 or 5 lies in this season, and some of them had some horrible consequences. You figure once some consequences happen that, you stop telling lies if you're a good person. So I'm kind of twisted about this. I hope that in the next season that they kind of correct this. They're also going to have to go back and correct the fact that he lied and he left, because in the book, Maekar relented and actually let Aegon go with Duncan. And there's problems that are going to come the way they wrote it, because I don't think Prince Maekar is just going to give up on his son. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up this review. So like my father told me when I was 18 years old, get out.